followed this method of teaching than it is a normal classroom. I mean, who wouldn't want to feel like a dictator and have complete control and complete power over your students? But at the end of the day, when you go home, is the only feeling that you want to have the feeling that you put the fear of God in them and that they were afraid of you? If you're any good teacher, I would hope that you want a little bit more. And so does Rafe Esquith. He simply, out through this chapter, tells that if you just simply build up trust, eliminate fear, make a safe haven for your children, and, be the role model, be the person that you want them to one day become, you're more likely to get not only a healthier, balanced classroom, but see children go further than they ever have and see them gain a whole new respect for adults and for school in general. He ends the chapter, surprisingly enough, with the words, "Trust me." I think we could learn a lot from this concept.
In Chapter 2 of Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire, a teacher's classroom can be based on trust from learning from failure, patience, and experience. Most teachers teach their students how to behave within the first week of class. The students act great until the substitute teacher fills in. Students have to gain trust according to Rafe Esquith. One way Mr. Esquith controlled behavior was an idea he got from the book To Kill a Mockingbird. In the book, the levels are the 6 levels of moral development. He modifies the 6 levels and uses them in his classroom every day. The first level of Mr. Esquith's 6 levels is Level 1. Level 1 is the kids saying, "I don't want to get in trouble." Most students are trained and all of their behaviors are based on the fact that they want to avoid trouble. We should want our children to behave not because they are scared, but because they want to. The next level is Level 2. Level 2 is the I want a reward level. Every child will behave if they are being rewarded. Some teachers bribe their students with rewards instead of scaring them. This level seems more effective than scaring your students, and your students like you a lot more. Rafe Esquith thinks teachers can do a lot better. Level 3 is I want to please somebody. Children grow up wanting to please someone. For example, little Johnny wanted to please his teacher, so he helped the substitute teacher out and showed her around the class. The substitute teacher left the teacher a note about little Johnny, saying how great he was. The teacher offered little Johnny a prize, but he wouldn't take it. Little Johnny just wanted his teacher to be proud of him. Level 4 is following the rules. Every classroom has different rules, which is good because it gives students the chance to adjust to different situations. Children who follow the rules are doing great, but do they really appreciate them? Most students do what they are told, but don't actually know why it is important to do so. Level 5 is being considerate of other people. Our world would be a wonderful place to be if everyone was Level 5 thinkers. Kindness really is contagious. Mr. Esquith's students are the best around by now. He still thinks they can do better, though. His students are following the character Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird. Because of his reasoning, you never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb inside his skin and walk around in it. Level 6 is having a personal code of behavior and following it, also known as the Atticus Finch level. Level 6 behavior is the most difficult to obtain. This is because a personal code of behavior resides within an individual. Mr. Esquith shows his students in many ways. He uses books and films, and especially the film The Shawshank Redemption by Morgan Freeman. Her character Red is the best example. His students all tried to reach this level, but one student actually did. Her name was Brenda, and they kept this secret for a long time. Chapter 16 of Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire is about giving. Rafe Esquith students show their respect by giving back to the community. Every year before Christmas, his students start preparing to Christmas carol, feed the homeless, and even give the homeless warm clothes to wear. It all started when some of his students began to Christmas carol. Every year, more and more students wanted to participate. Giving back to the community became something to look forward to. Former students started returning to help, cooking cooking long hot meals, and the homeless even began looking forward to this event every year. Rafe Esquich is very proud of his students and how they appreciate life and show this by respecting others. Some of his students travel around the world to give back and to show thanks to other people.
In Chapter 17, Rafe talks about how he uses theater in his classroom and how even 4th and 5th graders can not only put on a play by Shakespeare, but they can also comprehend it. He picks out the plays at least 2 years in advance, so that way he knows what he is going to be presenting to his students. That way he has time to go over the material so he understands it so he can teach it to his kids. And he tells them when they have their first meeting that we are here to learn about the power of language and to have fun working as a team. So these kids, they're not only learning a play so they can perform it and recite the words that they learn. They learn teamwork, problem solving, telling a story through music and dance, and they learn about taking risk. They spend an entire year on the play, dissecting it, cultivating it, and learning how the themes of the play can also apply into their lives. They learn that they're not just putting on a play for attention or praise. They work and realize that the work and time that they put into the play is their reward, the satisfaction of knowing that they did it. Rafe talks about how critics who have never seen the kids perform criticize them and say, well, 5th graders, they don't understand Shakespeare. But how Rafe approaches it, he gets these audio recordings of performers and actors and actresses who have played the parts in Shakespeare plays, and he plays them for the kids, and they listen. And he says in the book how he never realized how much kids learn just by listening repetitively. And if they come across a phrase or a word that they're not really sure of, they'll stop, rewind it, listen to it again. They will learn how to use the word or the phrase in its context, and they see what its relevance is to the play. A game that they also play is they all sit in a circle and they all have to give a name of a Shakespeare play or a work of Shakespeare. And the point of the game is that they don't repeat each other. So they're not only learning about a play that Shakespeare did, they're also kind of learning about his other works too. So they're kind of getting a well-rounded idea of who Shakespeare was, what his writing was like. They also play another game where it's the same concept as the first one, except they're talking about different phrases that Shakespeare has coined, like he knitted his brows together, or I didn't sleep a wink. So they're learning about phrases that Shakespeare had coined, and like these are phrases that we use in everyday speech for the most part. And I had no idea that those came from works of Shakespeare until I read this book. They don't use costumes or a setting in the play. Instead of using a big fancy stage with a big backdrop and lighting, they use their classroom. And instead of, big, elaborate, pretty costumes, they wear shirts. Like, the band will wear yellow, and the choir could wear orange. The fair princess could wear pink. The jealous king could wear green. The prince that comes to save the princess can wear royal blue. So all the colors kind of represent something, which I thought was really fascinating. And in the process of getting the play together, Rafe organized it to where they could practice after school, so that way everybody who wanted to be involved with it could be involved with it. And they didn't make every child try out for a speaking part. That way those who aren't very comfortable with being in the spotlight can kind of do their own thing backstage, or help with designing the t-shirts or being a stage manager. So every child can kind of blossom where they're good at. And my favorite part of chapter 17 is how Rafe talks about his kids serving the audience when it's intermission. Instead of the guests getting up and going to get their refreshments themselves, the kids, the actors, go to an adjacent room and bring the audience refreshments, which is really cool because he's teaching these kids about humility and how to serve others in a world where it's all about me, 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 and what's best for me, what benefits me. He's teaching these kids to go serve other people. And in the epilogue, Rafe just kind of ties up everything that he's talked about in the book with a few thoughts. You know, being a teacher, it's going to be hard, it's going to be tough. There are going to be days that are exhausting. There are going to be some days where it just seems like there's no point and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. But if you have the drive and the passion and the willingness to work with these kids and build a trust relationship instead of a fear relationship, all the heartache and tears and sweat will totally be worth it, because the kids see that there's somebody who's actually taking time to invest in them. And most of the time when these kids walk through the door, or our doors, they don't realize how much an education can benefit their lives and project them forward in a positive direction. You know, he talks about how everything outside those school doors disappears and nothing matters outside those doors. You know, fear becomes joy, sadness becomes laughter, and hopelessness becomes hope. And these kids aren't just kids, they're your family. And the classroom becomes your second home. And in the words of Rafe, there is no place like home.